Rise and shine. Pour yourself a cup of coffee and tune in to Good Morning Aurora. News, weather, and really cool interviews. Monday through Friday from 8 to 9 a.m.
Word up.
When you said that, it reminded me of like Word Your Mother. Remember that was like
Yeah, that's what it, yeah. Good morning, Aurora. Good morning, Aurora. Good morning, Aurora. The time is 7:59. I'd watched it go from 7:59 to 8. Now that's motivated right there. Time is 8 o'clock a.m. You're listening to and watching Good Morning Aurora, the second largest city's first daily news podcast. And it is Wednesday the 4th, right?
Yes,
it is the 4th, yeah.
Wednesday the 4th.
Wednesday the 4th of January 2023. Happy New Year to all the great people. We had a great guest today, a returning guest, our dear friend Jean Lynn of Jean Lynn Coaching is here. How you feeling?
I feel great.
All right.
How are you?
All right, doing good. Good to have you back on the show.
Thank you.
Good to have you back on the show.
Glad to be here.
Valeria, good morning. Gloria Jurado, good morning. Good morning to you. I hope you will have a nice day today and a blessed day today. Amen. I appreciate that. And Jennifer Ryan Mayton is here as well. We got an interesting conversation for you guys today. It's going to take some dips and some wait, hold on. Scratch that up.
No.
GB, how are you today?
I'm doing very well.
Okay, we got Gabriel Bradford here today. Y'all, Gabriel Bradford's our newest intern, so you can't forget the intern.
Oh, yeah.
Shout out. But we got a great conversation for you guys today. We're going to ask you some things. We're going to learn. We are going to heal together. It's kind of what we're going to do today, right?
Sure.
We're also going to be sending out a call for people to get a complimentary session of life coaching, right? Life coaching with Jean Lynn here. You'll be part of an experiment. How does that sound?
I don't know about experiment. I'd say more of a project than experiment.
Okay, good,
Yeah.
good. More of a project than experiment. Well, Jean's doing a project, so you guys can be part of it and get a free and complimentary session. But Jean, how have you been? How did 2022 end for you, and 2023 find you?
That great question. 22 ended, I don't know, it just kind of ended. I actually fell asleep about 10 o'clock on New Year's Eve.
Really?
So I woke up and it was the new year. Really, it got me thinking a lot about this year and what I want for myself this year.
Okay.
Where I see myself, or even where I don't see myself, just kind of what direction am I going?
Right, what spaces to be
get me
in.
there. Yeah, and one of the things we'll probably talk about later, but oftentimes I think like, do I want to go this way or that way? And oftentimes there's a road or a path that's so much better than either of those options. that I'm just not aware of yet.
Right.
And earlier we were talking about how the first time I came to see you, you were in a different studio, different situation, and could you have imagined that, you were thinking, I imagine, maybe this way or the way it is, or, and then a road took you a different way and you're like, wow, this is so much better than
Right.
where I thought I could be or where I would have gone.
Oh no, absolutely. That's there's a huge truth to that, because at that time, and I can remember my daydreams very clearly. The daydreams I was having at that time about the show, this definitely is above and beyond what I was daydreaming, but it's also different than what looked possible before me. What was right before me was one thing, and this is not it. This is not it. So I guess one of the things I learned about that, great question to me, thank you, is that one has to be flexible, and one has to be able to you got to roll with the punches, I guess they say, right? You got to roll with the punches. So, but we both grew since then,
Yes.
and 2023 for us is looking bright.
Good.
It's looking really
Yeah.
bright. I'm conscious, though, for a lot of other people, and maybe you can speak to it too. For a lot of other people, December is the most wonderful time
Yes.
of the year, but not for everybody.
Right.
Not for everybody. Did you experience or work with anybody or
Sure.
come in contact with people who weren't having the best ending of 2022?
Sure, yeah. And
Without giving their
Yeah.
their information away, yeah.
I feel like, everyone is so different. Like what's not good for one person is, not good for another person. You may individually look at oh, that's no big deal, but to them it's a big deal.
Right.
And I think it's that time, and this time of year especially, to look at those things, see where the lessons and learnings of the last year, landed them
Right.
or landed us, and how can we shift that and have a more joyful, graceful experience in this upcoming year. And, whether it's strategies could be I was so overwhelmed and, working on structure and scheduling and, giving, it could be a mom who's like, I just want 10 minutes to go to the bathroom by myself. It could be a business person who's like, I want this next goal and I didn't get there.
Right.
And I had this hiccup or this barrier, or this obstacle, and I keep going 2 steps back. It could be different for everybody on what, is their downfall.
Right.
So I think it's just really individualized on where they would go from there. But I love I think I've always been a resource.
Right.
In my life. People have always kind of talked to me
You've been that friend to rely on?
I have been that stranger to people, where I'm in the line at Walmart and the lady behind me is,
Right.
telling me your life story, and, it's
Like, ma'am, I just said, where's the divider for the vegetables?
No, I literally have my toilet paper in my hand and I'm waiting in line, and it just happens, and that's just the type of person
Right.
or energy that I have, and I love that, and I love people, and I know some people are like, oh, I do.
Right.
I love people. I love helping and guiding people to get to
Grab it with your hand.
the
Grab
next
right
place.
here.
The what? Oh,
Yeah.
like this? Okay.
Yeah.
Can you hear me?
You like this, yeah, take it with you.
Okay. I love to.
Like we're on stage.
I love to help and guide and be a resource for people, and maybe see things a different way.
Right.
That they may not see it. That we can work together and resonate. What resonates with them and where they want to go, and moving toward that.
In your opinion, what's the most obvious or the first stumbling block that most people have? What's the most immediate hang up? What's the low hanging fruit of why people may have the issue with the next level of progression?
It's too hard.
Right. The thing.
No, that's the thing.
Right. Yeah.
That it's too hard. Whatever it is,
Right.
is too hard. And maybe they've dipped their toe in that water, and
Right.
it didn't work out, and they were like,
Right.
it's too hard.
Because people get jaded by an activity or something that they want to do. It doesn't work out, then that's it. It crushed, right? The plate is shattered, and that's it.
There's so many lessons, learnings, and positive ones that come out of those like you were talking about your first studio and you didn't like it, and I imagine you learned so much from it.
I did.
As to where you wanted to go next, not where I don't want to be here, but where do I want to be?
Right.
And
Yep.
really having those goals and mindsets, even the next step, even if the destination seems very overwhelming and big and huge, you know, being able to break that down into bite-sized pieces
Right.
so that we can accomplish and look back at the, you know, a month from now even, or
Right.
6 months from now and look back and go, oh, look how far I've come.
I saw it was in regards to relationships. I saw like a statement or something, might have been a meme, whatever it was, but it said, one of the most powerful things that you learn in relationship is not who you want, but what you don't want, right? Like what you won't stand for, like the kind of relationship that
Yeah.
you're not trying to have.
Yeah.
That's valuable.
It is.
That's valuable information.
I will also flip that. Sometimes when we talk to whoever we talk to,
Right.
whether it's ourselves, God, universe,
With these
pineapples,
headphones on, it's kind of easy, right?
whatever you talk to
Right.
as an individual or whoever or whatever.
Right.
I would say putting out, you know, people often talk about, and I often talk about, if you put out, like if you say, I don't want this, it's like you almost get more of what you don't want.
Oh.
So putting it out there as not what I've learned that I don't want in a relationship, but what do I do want? Bring me more of what I do want.
Okay.
Of what I know I want
Right.
in my life. And then you'll see that those things are what you start to attract, right? So like if you're thinking about buying a new car, and you go see this car on the lot and you're like, oh, I've never seen this car before. Like,
Right.
it's been out for 10 years. I've never seen this car. And then you leave and all of a sudden you start seeing that car everywhere.
Everywhere. Right.
Right? So it's like almost like you're drawing that to you. You're like, yep, you need to buy that car, right?
The law of attraction.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's right.
So putting out what I do want, not what I don't want.
Yes. Yes.
And realizing that, you know, when you're talking about obstacles and things, that life truly, I feel, happens for us and not to us. So the lessons, the learnings, all those things are really to better ourselves, to upgrade ourselves. I got to breathe. So those things are happening so that you can get to that next step.
Right. Right.
Because if we didn't learn, we'd be in the same place. I often like to use an analogy of a baby. So baby wants to start learning how to walk.
Right.
What happens?
Falls down.
Falls down. Is he like, this is too hard.
Nope.
I'm not going to do this anymore.
Right. Never. It's never
No.
happened to me.
Like, okay, I take a couple steps, fall down.
Right.
I don't know. I did it twice now. You know,
Yeah.
no, they're running. What happens then? They fall on their face, skin their knees. They get up. They keep going, you know.
Right.
And it's just a great mindset to have. Like, okay, I'm just going to pick up. What's next?
Right.
What
Absolutely.
do I need now?
And plus, for all those parents out there, we all know that when the kids they fall, they get up, they fall. What they start doing is grabbing the table, right? Shout out to all the parents, and then they kind of, right, and they start going from chair to chair, a little bit more
Yeah.
steps.
Yeah. Oh, look what I can do now. You know, and
Exactly.
it's kind of a great analogy for us. So if we take those steps, we fall down, we keep going, and we look back and we're like, oh, look at me.
Yeah.
I'm walking.
Absolutely.
Pretty soon I'll be running. Next thing you know, I'll be sprinting.
Right. I personally, because one of the things that we've been doing on this show too is we've been interviewing people who are either representing a business or have their own business or are part of the community doing activities, whatever. What I have seen is two things, and this is going to be our third year doing this in May. I've seen folks who've had some issues with their business or the organization, and they keep moving along. I've also seen folks who maybe took a hiatus or a little something on their business, whatever the case may be, and now now it's the wheels are kind of spinning. And this is not a knock; it's just not no activities. Anything could have happened. And when I do meet some of these folks and talk to them, that's where they're at right now. For a lot of them, they maybe started a business during the pandemic because they had no job. Now they got a job. So what was making them happy in a creative sense, they had to put on hold. Now they go back to the grind just to get through. It's right. the life equalizer balance kind of thing. It's amazing. That's why I have my heart. I was kind of talking to Gabriel about this last week. Doing this has made me even more of a bleeding heart kind of person, right? Because I'm able to empathize more because I'm talking to people in all levels of their life. Like every peel of the onion is something that I can learn from or hear about from them. And I'm not a life coach, so a person like you, I'm glad you come on again to share this with us because like it's making me think now too. Like, wow, what do I want for myself?
Yeah.
What am I trying to get out of it? And what's it for me, right? I think I found my it, but I know a lot of people maybe have not found theirs yet, but how can we help them find theirs? Is there a way to help them find it?
There is. It's going to be one of those individual type of things again, what it is. But I would say I would say this is something I actually said to my son when he was going to college and trying to figure out what he wanted to do. And then the pandemic hit and, all these things. And I said to him, if money wasn't an issue and failure is not an option, what do you love to do so much that you would do it for free?
Wow. You know what?
And do that.
Yep, and do that. My mom asked me that when I was a real young man, and I told her I wanted to be a comic book artist, which is what I wanted to do. And I wrote a letter to Marvel Comics, and they sent me a nice letter back that said, like, don't quit your day job, kid. But news was at the same time like my thing too. Yeah, that's a really liberating question.
Yeah, and if you have to, for survival, get that job that has a steady paycheck and insurance and whatever it needs to be, just making sure that even if you do have to put that on hold a little bit, your passion or your desire to really have that business or whatever that path is for you, whatever your purpose is, whatever you want to share with the world, whether it's for money, not money, whatever it is, even if it has to be put on hold because let's say you did get a new job and you have to really focus on learning that for 6 months or whatever it is, just making sure that that dream is still there and that you have a plan on when you're going to start implementing that again. Because it's kind of like, you ever have a friend and you're like, oh yeah, let's get breakfast, and it never happens. Right? So setting a date for yourself, setting a timeline for yourself. And it's okay, if it's not right then, but at least you have that mindset that you're working toward that. Just having some sort of destination, some sort of goal to keep that alive, because that's why you're here.
I think we should ask the audience then. Let's ask them in the chat. What would you do if money and failure weren't an option, right? If money
wasn't an issue.
If money wasn't an issue.
Failure wasn't an option.
And failure wasn't an option. Michael Rayford, good morning. Dan Baril, good morning. Doris Sanchez Soto, good morning. Karina Suarez Darden, good morning. Alejandra Moscote, good morning. The question of the day is, what would you do if money wasn't an issue and failure wasn't an option? Put that in the chat. Michael Rayford. I'll call him out by the government name. Michael Rayford. Dora, put that in the chat. What would you do? I see it, but here's the thing about the audience that we have, and you've been in the chat too. We have an audience, dare I say, that is doing it, maybe. I know these people. I know Karina Suarez Darden. I think some of them are maybe doing it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
If they are, that's liberating, and I like that.
And it is it. And there's times where we are going to hit those walls, those obstacles, those hurdles. And that's where someone like me comes in to help break those.
What in the world is that?
Sorry, I'm just trying to put it in the chat.
Oh, scratch it up.
Yeah.
Thank you. Anyway, what were you saying?
I don't remember.
Where somebody like you comes in to...
Oh, sometimes when we even know what it is, or we're like, oh, we want to do this, or, it could be a relationship with your family, it could be a job, it could be a lot of different things that we face these hurdles and these barriers and these obstacles, and we may have tried different avenues, or why can't this get better, or why am I doing this? And that's where someone like me comes in to help heal, release, and remove some of those blocks and barriers so that we can get to that next step.
Nice. So the time is 8:17 a.m. You're listening to and watching Good Morning Aurora, the second largest city's first daily news podcast. Gabriel, do me a favor. Take us to a commercial. As mentioned, we're going to give these people some of the local news real quick, and then we'll let them think about what they would do if money wasn't an issue and failure wasn't an option. All right.
So the state of Illinois is clarifying a law intended to ensure that workers receive at least 1 day off per week. Modifications to the 1 day rest in 7 Act includes specifying that workers receive 24 hours off after working 6 consecutive days, regardless of whether the days fall within 1 calendar week. The new law also requires a second 20-minute meal or rest break for employees who work a 12-hour shift. Current law requires 1 break for those who work 7.5 hours or longer. The measure also increases penalties for employers who violate the law, increasing the current fine of up to $100 per offense to a fine of up to $250 or up to $250 in damages paid to the employee for companies with fewer than 25 workers, and a fine of up to $500 and up to $500 in damages for larger firms. And the Latinx Resource Center is open at Wabansie, and if anyone has any questions or concerns for them, you can reach them at Fortega Palaguachi at wabansie.edu, or Janisa Nino at jnino@wabansie.edu. And this is a great resource for Latino and Latinx students to receive different supports and stuff that they may need. So it's free and open to college students. And then the King County 211 number is it's for free human services in King County, that you can get help with clothing, food, shelter, housing, rent, or utility assistance, counseling, and many more services. It's a free number that you can call, and it's confidential. So if anyone's in need, again, that number is 211, and they'll be able to help connect you with any resources that you may be in need of or looking for.
All right, thank you very much for that, Gabriel. The time is 8:20 a.m. Duh. Ginger Gallagher is here. Good morning to you, Ginger. Dan says, I would like to paint a mural and write a book. I like that.
Oh, I love that.
Paint a mural and write a book. What would the book be about, Dan?
Here's where I would go with that. Like, okay, tell me what that mural looks like. Are you in it? Are you looking at it? Like, what does it mean to you? What does it sorry, I'm not.
No, you're good.
What does it mean to you? What does, is it a reflection of you and your life? Is it just beautiful? Like, what about that?
Right.
Tell me more about that. And that might lead into deeper things. And then also the book. Does it have to do with murals? Is it about your life? Like, what?
Yeah, Dan, can we get some more information about that?
But
yeah,
I'm sure there's more, but there's so many places, I could go with that. So when you said, like, how would you, share with people? Well, it just depends what's shared with me, and that's kind of what I would use to go deeper within them.
Yeah.
To find maybe that root cause or that root issue, which sometimes we think we know what it is, but oftentimes it's not what we think it is, and it could be deeper than that.
What do you mean by not what we think?
So oftentimes, what stops us is our heads, like we're not good enough, or the fear, or whatever it is. But that came from somewhere deeper, and it might be like, oh, that's because I didn't grow up with money. Well, it might be because you went to the store when you were 5 and you wanted a teddy bear and you couldn't get it. So there might be the same thing but deeper, or it could be something totally different. So it's just interesting, and that's, I know we didn't talk about, but I have life coaching and hypnotherapy. So the hypnotherapy, people are very conscious and awake. It's just a state, almost like a meditation kind of state.
Okay.
Where somebody's just really relaxed, and they're not in their head so much,
Right.
and more in their heart and what I call their unconscious mind.
Okay.
Okay, not your subconscious mind, but an unconscious mind, which kind of stores all the memories and resources
Okay.
of our lives. And so that helps me guide them to that place to process this information much more effectively and efficiently.
The unconscious mind. How does one go from what's the difference between the subconscious and the unconscious?
Way too much for this.
What do you mean? Way too much. We still got it's 8:22.
No, the mind, when
That's
I say
that's
has-
something you can learn from coaching.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
All right.
There's different, there's your conscious mind, there's your subconscious mind, there's your unconscious mind. And the unconscious mind is just deeper than those things. And it processes much more effectively because oftentimes our heads can get in the way.
Dan says, I love history, so that would need to be in the mural or book. I
Yes.
like that. Now, that's pretty
Yeah.
interesting.
So it kind of gives or helps guide as to, okay, I would want to do this and maybe write a book about this. Kind of gets the juices flowing.
Interesting. And then Michael Rayford says, what was the question? The question again for those who are just joining us is, if money wasn't an issue and failure is not an option, what would you do?
If money wasn't an issue and failure wasn't an option,
Right.
what would you do?
What would you do? Now, Dora says, here's a good one. She says, I'm living my dreams. Taking risks is part of life. Just do it. Dora is the proprietor of McCarty Mills Tap Room, one of the best
Nice.
establishments in Aurora. You've
I've been there.
Yeah. You
I
know about
I hang
it.
in Aurora. I've been
Okay.
here almost 18 years. Yep.
Yeah, shout out to McCarty Mills. McCarty Mills is a fantastic local establishment on River Street. And I can tell, so with her saying that, I can concur, because when you go in there, it gives you the appearance of the staff isn't all, don't want to be there,
Yeah.
it's definitely got the life and it shows, so congratulations
Yeah.
to McCarty Mills. And Michael Rafer says, I'm creating my own space, edutainment, media, podcasting with financial icing. Now, he's doing that, again, just like I was saying.
Yeah.
He is a guy that is he used to work for PBS. When I met him, I'll scratch it up. I'll give you mine right now, kind of what Gene and I were talking. When I met him, I was like, this dude worked for PBS. I was like, I wish I could work for PBS.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? I was like, holy cow. Like, he's been in he's literally been in the pond I'm trying to get into, So that was really refreshing.
Yeah.
You need people like that. And Gabriel Bradford says, if money wasn't an issue, he put the question. Thank you, Gabriel. I was like, why is his answer the question?
That's deep.
Right.
That's real deep.
Cindy says, I would travel the world and write a book. A lot of writers in here. A lot of writers.
Is it more about the sharing the experience or actually being an author? Would be what my question to her would be.
Let us know.
Yeah.
Yeah, Cindy, what would it be? Sharing the experience of being an author. What is the motivation behind that? Now, let's talk about the project.
Sure.
We're looking for 15 people for a complimentary session.
Yes.
All right. Talk about that session, how they can get in contact with you.
Sure. So you can email me. I think that's the best way for us to connect, and I can give you all the details and set you up.
Okay.
It'll take about an hour.
Okay.
And you can reach me at Jean at Jean Lynn, not at Jean. Let me start that over again. Jean at Jean Lynn Coaching. So Jean is Jean.
Okay.
And then at Jean Lynn, Lynn, coaching.com.
Can you put that in the chat for people, Gabriel? Thank you
Yeah.
very much. How long are sessions? About an hour?
About an hour.
Okay. All right. And you've got a broad breadth of experience doing this. How many years?
I do. Well, I became a full-time coach 4 years ago.
Okay.
But I've been doing it probably about 7 years now. Prior to that, I did dabble in some other areas, but as an actual life coach, hypnotherapist, it's been about 7 years.
Okay.
And I also want to share, I have a background in a lot of different industries as well, so just so people can feel like I'm identifiable to them. I grew up, just a little bit about me. I grew up in my parents were deaf. I'm the youngest of 7 kids. So saying that, I feel like maybe some of you in the multicultural upbringing can understand what that feels like to be in a household where they speak one language and have one culture, and then you go out into the rest of the world and it's different,
Right.
and bringing those two lives together, and sometimes interpreting for your parents or different things.
Right.
And without going into every step of my life, I will say that I've been in the corporate industry for a long time. I also did hair. I was a hairstylist.
Oh,
so
wow.
it's I've definitely had a lot of different jobs or
Yeah.
careers along the way, and had a lot of different experiences. And I feel like because of my experiences or my background, I can relate to a lot of people in their situations.
Right.
But like I said, I've always had this desire to be a connector, to be a helper, to, help people solve or help them with their needs, whatever that is.
How difficult has that been working in corporate America? I mean, that would, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
What's
It's a lot
that
of
like?
metrics, and, you're not good enough if you don't answer the phone this
Right.
fast, those sorts of things. I would say that the way that played out in corporate America were just the relationships that I had with the
Okay.
people that I worked with,
Right.
and their ability to share with me, and knowing that it's not going to be in a judgmental way, that I'm really just there to listen and to maybe share some insights or get them kind of thinking differently about a situation. And I'll bring up a situation, actually it has nothing to do with the corporate this way, but my experience. But the other day, I actually was talking to a young gentleman, and he said to me, I just don't understand why these people don't show up for work. And, he has all these goals of he wants to be, manager, and he wants to do all these things.
Right.
And I was like, well, that's your journey and that's your life. I said, but some people just want to go for the paycheck.
Right.
You don't know what's going on in their life. They could have a parent they're taking care of. They could have a family. They don't want to deal with people not showing up or, managing
Right.
people. They just want to go, do their thing, get their check, and go home. And that's where they want to spend their time and their energy and their
Right.
joy. So just everybody's different.
Yep.
And realizing even in corporate America, even if it might seem a little boxy to some people, there's a lot of different personalities that work there, and that I interacted with on an everyday level. I mean, it could be everyone from somebody cleaning the building to the CEO, So
Right.
it's just a different environment, but I can definitely relate to
Yeah.
that. But yeah, the way that I would say that my purpose kind of still chimed on was just with the relationships with the people and really treating everybody as equals.
Nice. So now I saw another, Christina Cash is here. Good morning, Christina. She says, I would live in the Caribbean
Nice.
and operate boat tours and an animal rescue. Interesting. That goes a lot to show about what's inside of her heart and soul. Dora Sanchez Soto says, others influence your will to strive. This topic's so interesting. Love this morning's guest. Well, thank you very much. Jean Lynn,
Thank
she's
you.
here. This is her second time on the show.
Yeah.
So, we discovered Jean Lynn a while ago. So,
Yeah.
absolutely. We got Mike here, and Alejandra says, photography all day, every day.
Beautiful.
And she is a great photographer. Let me plug in Conchita Photography right now. So shout out to Conchita Photography, doing a fantastic job out there. She's doing really good stuff. Alejandra's a dear friend, and she's got camera gear.
Yeah.
We got the big news camera, but I saw her gear. I was like, damn, screen that comes out, you can touch it.
Yeah.
Can't do that on that
Goals.
camera, right? Goals. And then Tracy Duran is here. Good morning to you, Tracy. Norma Peterson as well. And Cindy said about sharing her experience with the book as opposed to just being an author. I wrote a book I need to finish. I started writing a book I need to finish.
See,
rather.
even you get blocks and
Yep, exactly.
stop and okay, what's stopping you from doing that? So
Right.
there's deeper stuff there as to why sometimes we do that.
Yep.
Yeah.
Which reminds me about the second part of our conversation, because since Christina Cash was talking about the Bahamas, No, the Caribbeans and operating boat tours.
Oh, I'm friends with Christina Cash online, I think.
You are?
Hi, Christina.
Yeah, Christina Cat. That's right. Keller Williams.
Uh-huh.
Yeah,
I don't know how
absolutely.
we know each other, but I know your name.
Oh, see that? Good morning, Aurora, bringing us all together. That reminds me of the second part that we were going to ask folks downstairs.
Yeah, well, one thing I do want to say before
Yes,
we
yes,
get to that
absolutely.
is that super fun question. So for all the people that were talking about the things that they would like to do
Sure.
one day, is just what's one thing that you could do toward that? One thing. Like, not like, oh, I have to do it and make it happen. Just one step. Like, what's one thing you can do to start that journey for yourself?
Right. And that journey was, if money wasn't an issue and failure was not an option, what would you do?
Right.
Yep.
And do that.
Yep.
In some way, shape, or form, whether it's, one small step at a time.
Right. So part two of that was, how did we phrase that though?
I asked you a question.
Yeah, you asked me.
We were talking this morning about coffee.
Right.
And I
it
was
all
telling you
started over
about-
a Keurig.
Yeah. So we were
You have
talking.
some water?
I'm okay.
Okay.
Thanks. So we were talking about, we went downstairs and you were getting your coffee and I saw the Keurig and I shared with you that I had gotten a new coffee pot.
Right,
For
that's
Christmas.
right.
And it's a duo where you can do iced coffee and hot coffee. And then, kind of our talk about coffee. And you shared with me how you have an espresso machine.
Yep,
And
yep.
how, we talked about espresso and I could see the light in your eyes on how much you loved that espresso.
Oh my God. I do.
And so
do.
I asked the question, it made me think about the question of, if you could have one thing in your life, one person, one place, whatever it would be, like if you could afford it,
Mm-hmm.
right, on whatever level that is, what would that be for you?
Right.
And I know what mine is, and Gabriel, we were talking about this.
Yep.
And so my question is, if you could have one thing in your life that you could afford, kind of a luxury,
Right.
What would that be?
Right.
And you said?
And I said, I think I said initially a personal chef, right? I think I said a chef.
Yes.
Yeah, a chef or somebody to make me coffee.
You said a chef, and then you said, and they could make me my espresso, and
Yeah.
I said, well, a chef and a barista are two things. You want them to combine, and you're like, yes.
Yeah, kind of a chef-arista kind of
Yes.
thing. But yeah, that's what I would do. I would like somebody to just, real quick with the food. I think that'd be probably the best luxury I would have. And yours was
Mine was initially, I said, having somebody cook for me would be great. Like, that'd be nice. I'd probably eat a lot better. But mine
like, no, ma'am, you shouldn't have
Yeah.
the shrimp platter right now.
Yeah, so if I wanted something, not so great for me, it'd probably be the healthiest version of it.
Okay.
And I wouldn't have to do it. So I like that. I
Right.
like that whole chef cook. Actually, I said a cook, not a chef, but
Right. You did
Yeah.
say a cook.
A cook.
That's right.
because
Wouldn't have to be fancy.
I don't need it fancy. I just need it done
Right.
for me. But
Right,
really,
true.
really, what mine is a massage therapist and a chiropractor. So if I could wake up every day, get a massage, get adjusted a couple
That's a
times
hell
a
of a
week.
luxury. That is
If I had them on staff,
Yeah.
they just kind of lived not in my house, but close.
in the little guest house.
Yes,
right?
yes. We laugh, but it could
Yeah,
be a possibility.
no,
it could be a dream of mine one day.
That
I mean,
is true.
That's not my first step, but
Yeah.
maybe in the long term. But
Yeah.
that would be my kind of not goal, but it would be a want, not a
No, I
need.
feel you. Absolutely.
But yeah, just kind of fun to talk about, the
Right.
the picture. What would that look like?
Well, we're going to ask so ladies and gentlemen in the chat, let us know what your luxury would be. That's the way to put it, like what their luxury
Sure.
would be.
Yeah.
What your luxury would be in the chat. Share that with us. The time is 8:36. Now, I'll tell you this. So, now when we were talking about it, Gabriel brought up, because he mentioned, we're talking about, I think it was in the barista conversation or
Yeah.
whatever it was, but he mentioned that he goes to Treadwell for me in the morning time at the downtown studio.
Yes.
Now here's the thing about that. That's part of the intern job. Now, when Monica was the intern, she did that for an entire year, every single morning. There's a purpose behind that too. It's not just because I love coffee. One of the perks of being an intern is that anything I eat, you eat. So you got to get you coffee too, whatever. But Treadwell opens up at 7. And shout out to Trevor, I love him, right? But even though the coffee is ready, for some reason, it still takes, I'm leaving out of there at what, 7:12, 7:15 in the morning. That is crucial time. I ain't got 15 minutes to be waiting for coffee. 15 minutes, and we start at 8. Can't do it. So that's where the intern became like gold.
Well, I imagine
You know
there's
what
a
I'm saying?
reason that their coffee takes that long, because I'm sure it's customized.
It's always
and all the
something.
things.
Yeah.
But yes, I understand
know.
the time management aspect of it, just kind of
Right,
taking
and
the
I'm
other
not-
side of things.
Right, I'm not right. I love Chad Will.
Yeah.
Got the stickers.
Yeah.
Got the mug.
Yeah.
Chad, what up?
Just takes a bit, yeah.
It takes a bit.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
takes a bit. And when you're
And
doing
you don't have
this,
time for that.
you don't have
That's what
time for
you're
that. Yep. Ain't nobody got time for that.
And that's why I could be your personal coffee deliverer.
Yeah. Yep.
There you go.
But we laugh and joke, but I do take it seriously because I got coffee for a few bosses of mine every single day as a grown man walking through the alley. When I worked in corporate America, Curtis, go to Dunkin'. I was that dude, right? Suit, tie, nice shoes, walking through mud and puddles and all that, going to get coffee and bring it back for the whole. I did that.
Yeah.
So it's a small perk.
Yeah.
Take me to a commercial. Okay, the time is 8:38 a.m. So before we get going on here, and I read your great comments about what your luxury would be, and some of you people who would let us know what you would do if money was not an issue and failure was not an option, I want to inform you of a couple of things that are going to be very important taking place coming up. The first is some breaking news that on Saturday the 14th from 5 to 7 p.m., our friends of the Aurora 88 Roller Derby will be having their Fire and Ice fundraiser. This is going to be a fantastic, smashing event full of, roller derby stuff. You ever seen roller derby?
Not in person.
No? They do like the, it gets,
Like
it's
checking it.
Yeah, it's like American
Yeah.
Gladiators on skates. This is going to be January the 14th, next Saturday, 5 to 7 p.m. Yours truly, I will be the MC for this event. So please, come on out, support Aurora 88 Roller Derby. Shout out to Metal Mama and Crybaby Crier. And they told me I can pick my own derby name, too.
Ooh.
So I need a derby name.
Maybe some suggestions on that.
We will take some mild suggestions. Keep it light. Keep it PG. I need something I can yell over the mic repeatedly, and something I can be proud to be introduced as. So that's the first thing. The second thing I want to tell you guys about is that you've been hearing us talk about the IDA, Illinois Housing Development Agency's current mortgage assistance program that's going on. The deadline for that is January 31st, so there is still time up to, you know what, I got it right here. It's in Spanish, but with the help of Buenos Dias Aurora, I can give you all the details. So you get up to $60,000 per household, and this is based on financial hardships due to the pandemic. To apply, you can call the Neighbor Project at 630-906-9400 or visit them online at www.neighborproject.us. There is an eligibility, there are eligibility requirements, and $60,000 is simply the cap, the threshold. So some people have asked, which are legitimate questions. Hey, somebody I know only got $20,000 back. Well, perhaps their assessment deemed $20,000 was necessary. So again, please, I would encourage people, when you see the cap on something, you must understand that eligibility and the requirements that's what's primary. So if you're eligible and you receive assistance, that's good. And that assistance can help you and be of a benefit to you. The time is 8:41 a.m. Christina Cash says, I would hire someone to do my laundry and go through my mail every week. 2 things I procrastinate. I like that. Karina says, I would love to have a full-time chauffeur. I hate driving. You guys are thinking good. I love you guys. Jennifer Ryan Mayton says, treat yourself at the Zenloft Wellness Center. Great massages. That's right. Scratch it up. Gina, if you need a massage, I got a friend named Emily.
Yeah.
And Jennifer Ryan Mayton.
Tell me about them.
Oh, hands like butter,
Yeah, strong.
strong,
I need strong.
firm. They will, girl, they'll have you looking like
I need you.
they'll dig in. They'll dig in.
I'm ready. Yeah.
We'll get you the info. Zenloft.
Okay.
They're on Facebook. And anybody else wants a good massage?
Or reach out to me.
Reach out. Yeah, reach out. Get connected. Y'all,
Yeah.
y'all do your thing. Do your thing. Okay. And then there was one more here. I would love to have a chef. Maria Chorito. Good morning to you. She says, I would love to have a chef. That'd be nice.
Maybe
That'd
you
be
guys
nice.
can go in on one together.
Right? Half and half on a chef.
Yeah, just go from one house to the other. Hey, you know
Yep.
what? You gotta think outside the box sometimes.
True. Like, you know what, girl? Look, you got the stuff. You find the part. We'll put it together. Yeah, that's good.
That kind of leads me into something I was going to
Yes,
talk
absolutely.
about.
Absolutely,
Which I
please.
kind of wrote this down this morning, and because we talked about
Please
it.
do.
This is really a time? I'm going to kind of look at my phone for a second.
Go ahead.
Really time for new beginnings
Mhm.
and setting goals and thinking about. Sorry,
You're good. You're good.
I'll start again.
No, huh?
Okay.
Want to make sure they
So
hear that
time
first.
of new beginnings, setting goals, thinking about where we'd like to be, and investing a little bit every day in ourselves. And when we look back in a year or so, thank you, we could really see how that paid off. And it really got me thinking about, I don't know if you've ever seen on the internet, it's kind of like, it has like every week you deposit, $10 into an account or $12 into an account. Like the number changes every week for so many weeks. And at the end, you have this balance of that you could do whatever you want with.
Right.
And it really got me thinking about investing in ourselves that way. Like, what can we do every week or every day to invest in ourselves and our futures or our goals or our desires, our dreams, whatever it is to upgrade and elevate ourselves. Like, what's one thing we can do ourselves without even my help or anyone's help?
Right.
I'm here, of course,
Yep.
but or even to help guide that process and think about the value you would have just in a couple weeks.
Yep.
And feeling like I'm moving forward. I'm doing it for me.
Right. I'll just answer that question on a personal level. So two things I started doing. I started doing this years ago, but I've been seeing the benefit like accrue for me. I go to bed early. I started going to bed earlier, right? I start listening to my body. I typically start getting tired, winding it down around like 7ish to 8. So like I've got a good regiment to where like by 8:45 or 9 o'clock, I'm definitely asleep or have been asleep, which makes you wake up early. And that's my normal like thing. And I started working myself into those parameters. So when I wake up, I just immediately start working. And what happened was I stopped waiting to do things. Like I'm up at 5, but I don't start work until 9. Right?
Yeah.
So instead of just like chilling and then going to work at 9 and doing my work, I started like doing things when I wake up. Like I'm going to answer those emails now so I can just be responded to during the day. I'm going to like, I got to, crack some stuff out for 10 minutes, Excel sheets. I don't know if anybody else has that, right?
Yeah.
Pivot tables and all that. I'm going to do that. I'm going to make my coffee now, 5:45 a.m. I'm going to get it done by 6. I'm done with that. I'm ready to report on it at today's staff meeting at 10 a.m. And what happened was my capacity to do things increased. When I stopped doing things just when it was time to do it, after years of doing that, like now, with the help of being a remote worker when the pandemic came too, though, like what happened was by like 2 o'clock, I'm planning tomorrow. You know what I'm saying? Because today has been done. Like I'm planning tomorrow now. Like it's Wednesday. I got Friday ready to go now. So to your point, and I didn't mean to, we're learning from you today, but to your point, that's what I started. That's that little small thing I started doing. Like, you know what? I'm up. I'm going to start now.
Yeah.
And it's just,
And for you, I imagine that gave a sense of accomplishment
Oh,
early in the
absolutely.
day,
Yep.
a sense of release of the things you had to do, a sense of freedom from that so that you can enjoy the rest of your day.
Yep.
And that's great that you started doing that for yourself and feeling that. And some people might be like, oh, you know what, Curtis, that's not me. That's too early. You know, what if you're just laid in bed for 5 minutes and just said, okay, what kind of day do I want to have today?
Absolutely.
What do I want to do today that's a value for myself?
Absolutely. And that's what people need.
And do
Yep.
that and find the time to do that. And I think one of the things that you just said about, it's almost like you've scheduled that time for yourself.
Mhm.
Unintentionally, but scheduled that
True.
time for you to do that because that's what works best for you.
Right.
And not everybody works best that way. But really finding what works best for us.
Right.
Is it when the family goes to bed at 8 o'clock at night? Or am I too tired then? You know, or do I need to get up an hour early, get my juices flowing so that I feel ready to kind of take on the day? Maybe it's sitting there for 20 minutes drinking your coffee in pure silence.
Right.
Whatever it is, you know, do that.
Yep.
And it shifts so much of the way we feel and the way we look at the world and take on the world and interact with the world.
Yep.
And you can be that smile that someone needs.
Oh, absolutely.
At 9 in the morning or 8 in the morning.
Yeah. Well, and that was, again, and that was another benefit besides quitting smoking, which I've been cigarette free for, I think this will be year 11 or 12. I don't remember now. Besides that too, that is what made, my more, everything got better. Like, like it's all gone. It made me a happier person in the morning time. So yeah, but for each person, it is different, and each person and their own intimacies in life is what is going to take or make or break it for them and be that moment for them. Because I've been interviewing people and learning from people that for some of them, like for example, for some of our friends on the show who are either executive directors of some great organizations like Hesed House or what have you, a lot of times their mornings, their nights are later, right? But and their morning may start a little later, but they're fulfilled because they like that, like that's their thing. Like they need the joust, they need to be in there with the swords dueling, like having their work done. They don't have time for that. So they're more efficient at getting it done and staying committed to it from 1 to 1:30 p.m., whatever it is. For me, I can't do that. I got to be moving, and shaking and baking,
Yeah.
And I also learned that I can't sit down for long periods of time, which I knew, and corporate America really ruined me in that fashion because it forced me to sit in one cubicle for the longest time when, like, in reality, like, that was draining me.
Yeah.
And I didn't realize that.
Your cup was
Like,
lessening.
Right? That's what
Yeah.
I was like, oh, God, which is why I'm so efficient now.
Yeah, but some people, that drives them. That corporate America, that goal, so everybody's different, as far as what drives them and what their needs are, which is super cool.
Right.
And one of the things that Gabriel talked about this morning, which I thought of when we were just talking about this, is he said one of his, and correct me if I'm wrong on this, but you said someone to do your scheduling for you.
Yes.
Yes. He did say that. He did say that.
I need a personal assistant. I was like,
And
too much.
I had a client, I'll share, that she was going to grad school, didn't know how to schedule her life. And I to me, I'm thinking, you made it through college. Like, how did you get this far,
Right.
So really, she would wait till Sunday, and she knew she had all this work to do, but it was just weighing on her all week. Like, I have all this stuff to do. I don't even know what it is, but I know I have all this stuff to do. And then it's like down to the wire, trying to get it all done, asking for extensions, So really taking that schedule, for those people that need that, So everybody might be like, that's no big deal. You just do it this way,
Right.
But some people,
It's not a big deal for you.
it's not that they don't
Right.
want to do it. They just don't know how.
Right.
They've never learned in a way that they can understand and implement for their lives.
Yep.
And so by doing that, it made that experience so much better for her. So she knew every day what she had to do, what she had to accomplish, in little bite-sized chunks like I was talking about.
Right.
To make, your daily life so much more enjoyable,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
So that made me think about that and the scheduling. And scheduling is important.
No, it definitely
because
is. Yeah.
Because you think, like, a lot of people would think, like, oh, I have this to do. Oh, I'll do it later. And then it's like, you're
Never
not really
do
letting
later
it
what you can do now.
Well, not really letting it go, because
Right.
it's always weighing on you. It's not like you're just going to tackle it later.
Right.
If you can do that, wonderful.
Right.
But it's rare.
And hold on, someone said a maid. Who was that? Jennifer Ryan Mayton. She said a maid.
I like it.
Michael Rayford. It's great to have goals. However, we should focus more on the process, our central processing unit, how we operate for ourselves. Well said, sir. Dan Barrero says, right now, I need help taking down and putting away Christmas decorations. We have them inside and outside. Can't get it done in one day. I feel for you, brother. I feel for you.
Well, the good news in that is the weather's pretty good.
Yeah, actually, it is.
Yeah.
It is.
Bite-sized chunk, little
Yep.
at a time.
Dora says to Dan, break it up and set only 2 hours a day until it's done. Break it up.
Well, that's what works for him.
Exactly.
That's great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Honey, I get the lights, you get the garland, and together we've cleaned up,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Oh, that reminds me also, City of Aurora is doing Christmas tree pickup, I think, this week. Tracy Duran, maybe you can correct me on that if it's all this week, but I think they're doing Christmas tree pickup, live Christmas tree
Yeah.
pickup. Put them simply on the corner, on your curb, and they'll come around and get it for you.
I want to mention something that one of the folks on the chat said about the process.
Right.
And it really is about the process. So even if you don't know what your goal is, it's about moving forward in the process
Right.
of that. And that's what I love to do,
Yeah.
and what I love to help people and guide them with that's best for them.
Mhm.
Yeah. And
Yes.
so I love that he said that, because that's so true. And something we talked about a little bit earlier, and we might have even talked about it, which sometimes that process is we think we have two choices to make, one road or another road. Is it this or that? But oftentimes there's something even better out there
Mm-hmm.
that we don't quite even know about yet. But when it happens, we're like, that was pretty cool. I never even thought that this is where I would end up, or this is the road that would have led me to where I needed to be.
Right. That's a fact. That's a fact. And it reminds me of the Aurora sign in the other studio, right?
What's that?
You haven't seen it because you haven't been to the other
No,
studio.
I
So we
Missing out.
Well, we got a part 3. We already know that.
Yeah, we
For those who've been in the studio, you know the big lit up Aurora sign. On the day that we were able to record in the TV studio, in
Okay.
the actual ACTV studio, on that day, I will never forget. Walk in and there was just debris. Obviously, this place hasn't been used in forever. Climbing over bags of junk. And I remember the thought did come in my head like, oh, how am I gonna, right? How am I gonna make this? Maybe somebody, a commercial building. Like this will be a restaurant one day, bricks and mortar. And then I saw this sign, huge sign laying in a trash heap. And it wasn't broken. I plugged it in and it lit up. And that's when I was like, you know what? Maybe this can. And then it took a while, but that's the moment where I was like, yeah, I never thought, because that's actually the first time in my entire life that I was actually able to go into a recording studio, an actual professional recording studio set up to deliver information. Because before that, it was always, all I was doing was daydreaming. When I met you, I was daydreaming.
But look where you are now.
Right, exactly. Not even in that studio.
Well, just
But
look
that's
where your
because-
career
No, right,
with
right.
this has come.
Sure.
And looking back, although you may or may not be able to associate to the feelings you had then, but you definitely have the memories of what that looked like and what that was for you and what you thought your future looked like.
Right.
Based on that experience, I would imagine, based on what you were talking about, that future didn't look so great.
Yep.
But really, it wasn't that or nothing or that or something else. You just kept moving.
Right.
And then, you got to better places
Yep.
by looking at what you did want.
It reminds me of a song. Don't stop thinking about tomorrow. Don't stop. Oh, okay.
I like how he's looking at, Gabriel's looking at you like, I have no idea what that song is.
I was born about like 18 years ago, so I have no idea.
I love it.
If anyone knows what it is, like we were just talking the other day, we were talking about McGruff.
Yeah.
And like,
It's a dog, right?
yeah, it was a dog, and I totally had forgotten about that. And then like, all the people were a little older than me were like, Gabriel, that's a
Yeah.
thing. It was like so popular during the like 20, 30 years ago. I was like, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. You're like, I wasn't even a thought.
Exactly. I was like, nope.
It wasn't even in the making.
Yeah. My parents were like still in high school that when it came
Fleetwood
out.
Mac. Thank you very much,
Yeah.
Dan. My man, Dan. Dan, if you do a mural and you write a book, man, also be a part-time song rememberer for friends.
Yeah.
And Emily is here. Good morning to you, Emily Zenloft. She's proprietor of Zenloft. Christmas tree pickup starts this week for 2 weeks. Thank you for putting the link to that in the chat. And time is 8:57. So, did we get everything? Did
That
we?
was
Did
fast.
we? Right? See?
When you talk about what you love with people that bring you joy,
Absolutely.
it goes so fast.
When you do what you love, it does go fast. Did we forget anything?
I don't think so. I just feel like, honestly, we could talk about this for hours.
Forever, yeah.
In so many ways, shapes, facets, forms, situations, and
Yep.
I love it.
The folks can find you, Jean, at Jean Lynn Coaching.
Mm-hmm.
You're also on Facebook as well.
I am. I'm going to do better. That's my goal, is to get my Facebook page a little more active.
All right.
Say that.
Okay.
Kind of, I will say, yeah, the messaging and all of that needs to be updated, but it's there.
Okay. All right.
Same thing with my website. I do have a website, which I'm also in the process of updating. So
Right.
the best way to get a hold of me is that Jean at jeanlincoaching.com.
Okay.
But I am on social media as well if you just want to look and read a little bit about me.
Wonderful.
That website is Jean Lynn Coaching.
All right. Gabriel put the link, or excuse me, please put your email address in the chat for the folks. Please reach out to Jean. She's looking for 15 people for a complimentary session.
Mm-hmm.
Ooh, that means we got to pay nothing. And she's
get all the
working,
value.
Right, you get all the value. She's working on a project, so we'll see what that project will be. And I can tell you this, it's a lot better that she needs complimentary. You get a complimentary session for his project instead of like we were talking like a science lab or something. Like we need 5 people to volunteer. Put your hand in this machine.
Yeah, see
Come
what
out-
happens.
Right, come out looking like. Well, look what happened to the Hulk, right?
Yeah.
He got bombarded by gamma rays and came out green. Lou Ferrigno. Okay, the time is 8:59. The show ends on a positive note.
It does.
What-
And I forgot the camera's over there, so hi, everybody.
Oh yeah.
Well,
it's fluid. Yeah, they know we're crazy.
Yeah,
You know.
yeah.
They know
I'm
we're
really
crazy.
glad to interact with you all today and be here. I mean, it just brings so much joy to my heart to talk about this and be in the space with you both, and
Yep.
the energy is fantastic, and
Well,
I love it.
we're glad to have you back.
Thank you.
We're glad to have you back, and you know that you're a friend of the show, so we're glad to have you back. Please get in contact with Zenloft. I'd love to see you go
Mm-hmm.
up there. They are fantastic people. They are the #1 in the city in terms of wellness or massages.
Nice.
So they're located right around the corner from us downtown, Aurora, 6 West. 6 South Stope Avenue, I think is the address. They're on Facebook too.
Yeah, and one thing I will share, since you were just talking about massage, and it's one thing to take care of our physical body, which is super important. It's also necessary to take care of our internal bodies, our mindsets, and all of the other things. And they do really tie into each other, because oftentimes if we don't take care of, I mean, you always need physical,
Right.
help.
Right.
To feel good and, to loosen up those muscles. But also, they kind of tie together, because often I've found in my research and my learning and my experience is that if there's something inside of us that is not taken care of, maybe shoved down, maybe not dealt with, or if I don't think about it, it's not going to be a thing, it often comes out in a physical way.
Right.
So if we don't take care of it internally, it's going to start showing itself externally, and then that becomes a thing as well.
Right. Jean, this was a fantastic conversation, and we're glad to have you back on the show today. I encourage all the listeners today to get in contact with Jean. Please reach out to her. She is a friend of the show. And also want to say thank you very much to Zenloft for tuning in today as well and being a great community space, owned, operated, and run by women. Doing a lot of good stuff down there in downtown. Emily, shout out to you. Jennifer, Ryan, Mayton, and the whole Mayton family. Shout out to all of you guys as well. Take care of yourself and each other.